everybody. Robert Adducci here. Maybe Robert Adducci here. I don't see my audio capturing. Oh, Tim.
Did you disappear?
I think I did. No, I am there, and you're there. Great, we're all there. Everyone's there. And welcome to Ulysses World's show. I'm here, Robert Adducci, community manager for Ulysses International, along with Tim Brown, studio director. Welcome, Tim.
Hi, everybody.
And we have special
Hey,
guest.
thanks.
We have special guest Grant Ellis. Welcome, Grant.
Hey, everybody, I'm very happy to be here on Ulysses Worlds, not Weirds.
Weird.
I guess we're a little weird.
Yeah.
They're weird worlds.
Yeah.
Can you
My
say?
sideburns, they're making it weird.
You can get some weird points. Maybe we're playing some Fading Suns.
Hey.
True enough.
So, let's talk about our guest, Grant. So Grant is a producer on the new Torg Eternity and the Dark Eye shows on WebDM Plays, which we will get into once we start talking about those lines. But Grant, how did you get into playing RPGs?
So, as a child of the 1980s, it was very deeply ingrained into our culture where we had animated series, cartoons on TV that featured RPGs. It was regularly advertised in every comic book and comic book magazine. And I always just had a deep fascination with the act of playing pretend. And from the time I was 10 years old, I started playing tabletop role-playing games. And I ran, at age 10, a campaign for a group of high school seniors. You can imagine how that experience went. But it shaped me into the person I am today.
Trial by fire.
Kind of punching above your weight there. I love it.
Yeah, but that's exactly how I got involved in playing them. And then I started broadcasting RPGs and actual plays in about 2014, largely as an opportunity to play test material I was writing. I'd go into various Discords or on Twitter or Reddit and just recruit players from out of the wild to play test material that I was designing and writing. And so it's been a little over 25 years of playing games, and I've enjoyed every second of it.
Nice. So how did you get wrangled into producing games for us or shows?
I think literally I was lassoed right out of Twitch. Robert found me and caught me with the lasso. I've produced a number of actual plays on a plethora of channels. It is a plethora. And I was approached by Ulysses to take a look at both The Dark Eye, which we were familiar with at WebDM, where I'm contracted to produce shows each week, as well as I was deeply familiar with Torg as a game system because it was in every game shop growing up, and I was familiar. I was very excited to see that a new edition had been released. And so we talked about what we could do to make it happen. And then I reviewed the play materials and began to think about how we could put this together. Interesting to note that I was featured on a podcast about a year ago, and the host said, he's 54 years old, he said, the one game I want to see you produce is Torg Eternity. Because I'm really curious how you'd approach that. Yeah, and it's out there, the video's out there, the podcast is out there. He goes, I'd love to see Grant Ellis take on Torg Eternity as a game. And like when I was approached, I was like, all right, now it's time to make this happen, and I'm jazzed to do it.
Nice. So for those who are not familiar with sort of live streaming, like what does a live stream producer do exactly?
In my position, I assume three roles. The first role is I act as the chief facilitator of the production. So I line up, if there's going to be any financing, I line up the financing. I work to produce the artwork for the shows. Having a background in motion pictures and television, I animate the show intros and design the overlays, license any artwork as well as additional music. And then the second role, and I also work deeply involved in putting together casts. I know we'll talk about specifically who's playing in these shows later. But one of my chief credits back when I was in the motion picture business was a casting director. So I like to work to put together diverse and interesting groups of players that will best reflect the quality of the products that are being produced here at Ulisses. And my second role is as a technical director, queuing up scene transitions, making sure the audio's clean, making sure that the picture is clear, and overseeing the flow of production. And then I think the third responsibility is actually in what I would refer to as relationship management, both internal and external. I want to make sure that if our players have concerns, that they are heard. I want to make sure that they feel comfortable and confident in the system. I want to make sure they have opportunities if they need to reinforce the rules or to explore aspects of the fictional play space of the game, that we provide those. Likewise, working with external partners, both show sponsors and the audience, and making sure that the audience can interact and engage with content. So those are really the three hats that I wear as a show producer.
Nice.
Great. So, hey, can you expand just a little bit? You said you've done some work in television and in movies. Just to give our fans a little bit of data, what did that entail?
So really, three major roles that I'd fill. I'd either, if it's short form content like a commercial or a music video, I typically act as a post-production supervisor, managing all the special effects. And I largely would do that so I could get better at it. I've always been interested in how to do special effects in motion pictures and television. If it's long form, like a TV series, some of the series I worked on was like Alcatraz by J.J. Abrams. I did maybe 100 different talking dog Christmas movies that I won't name, but they're still on Netflix. I still get residuals every year. But I've largely worked as a first assistant director, which is the individual that runs the movie set and is the chief crew boss over everyone. They are the person that calls action on the set. It's not the director. I like that because it was primarily solving logistical challenges and pulling together everyone as a team, and also making sure that we are on time and on budget. And you can imagine how that is applicable to the game industry.
I don't know. We've never managed it yet, but yeah.
Same.
Nice. So.
No, cool. That's great. Sounds like a great background.
Yeah. So coming into RPGs and streaming them, like specifically for us, what has been your experience like making these actual plays for our communities?
What I really like about what I'd say specifically, and this is sort of the unique quality of what I'd refer to as the Ulisses fan base, is there is a deep passion for the games across every edition. And they are offering excellent insight into their own campaigns. They are engaging in our YouTube comments, giving rules clarifications, and not in a malicious way. Like, they're not saying you got that wrong. They're like, so here's 3 things I'd like to note about the rules. And then they would explain, and here's how I homebrew this at our table, because we've made some modifications that align with the way you did it, but we want you to know here's where you can find it. And it's really engaging to sort of see the cordiality in the community where they're willing to engage and instruct. Likewise, the content is very rich and detailed because a lot of it has decades of material that have grown and matured with the products. So specifically, also it's been an exciting opportunity to watch our players learn the new systems. Both of our game masters are first time in the system, but they work professionally running games on streams. And they reviewed the materials and found them, 1, of high quality, 2, they said, I think this would make for a good show primarily. They're like, I think we have a rule set here that is actually going to be highlighted through the actual play experience. And for me, the most fun part is just there's really cool artwork with all these products. And that's kind of the prompt to inspiration. Like I looked at the Torg artwork that is just so striking, and every adventure film that I loved resonates in my memory. And I say, we can make a show out of this. And it's going to be a lot of fun.
Definitely. So, folks in the chat, welcome. And if anybody has any questions for Grant, go ahead and throw them in the chat, and we'll get to them as we can. But for now, let's move on to some more news. So, Tim, what can you tell us about Ulisses Con Vegas?
Ulysses Con Las Vegas is deep in the planning, so we're making good progress on that every week. Much of what we're doing right now is very behind the scenes, how we're going to organize different events and how we're going to present all of that so that the fans can sign up for it. This is the first convention that we're running in the United States for Ulysses, so it's we're building everything from the ground up, so it takes a little bit of legwork there, but we've opened up the possibility for everybody to chime in and see what they would like to do, and we're organizing a lot of unique fan experiences. Who we're gonna get out here for guests? Maybe Grant should come out to be a guest. I think that'd be great. We should figure out a way to make that happen as well. So, but yeah, a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff is moving. We still anticipate our April date for next year is going to be okay, and we'll keep everybody up to date. So just keep an eye on this space. It's going to be a great fan experience, and I hope to see all of you here.
Definitely. I just threw in the chat the interest form. So if you think you would be interested in coming to Las Vegas, Nevada in about April next year, assuming all things are go at that point, fill that form out. Let us know what you would like to do at the con, because it is going to be a sort of like a boutique con. So there's a lot of room for us to sort of make events exactly what our fans want. So let's move on to the Dark Eye. The Gods of Aventuria book is still finishing up layout, and that should be out at some point. And beyond that, we've been doing a lot of streams and shows for the Dark Eye. Most recently, the ones that's wrapped up would be the How to Be a Great Game Master shows. He did several intro videos and an actual play for the Dark Eye. Really loved his stuff, and the fans seem to love it too, so definitely check that out. And then let's move into the Dark Eye stream that Grant is producing. What can you tell us about that, Grant?
So we are producing an actual play for the Dark Eye, the current edition of the game, on WebDM Plays. That is both a YouTube channel and a Twitch channel, twitch.tv /webdm / I always mess them up, as well as WebDM Plays on YouTube. And here's what I can tell you about the show. Adventures in Aventuria is run by Susanna Grace. Susie has been a professional game master for about 4 years. She has run on a plethora of Twitch channels. I think she's up to 6 now. She is also a content producer in games and was a featured performer at this year's Gen Con. Susie is she's a very engaging game master, doing a variety of voices and characterizations, as well as sensitive to detail. Some of our players as well, we have an international player base. We have the award-winning game designer Shang Biswas, who was born in India, raised in the United Arab Emirates, and did his grad work here in the States. And has produced, I think, over 24 game titles, currently up for several awards, and has worked with a variety of publishers. And Shang is the one player that had played the Dark Eye previously and said he'd really like to play it with an engaging group on stream. Likewise, from New Zealand, our friend Liam Stevens, who is a Maori and an Emmy-nominated podcaster, who is dealing with the time zone differential, but we've set up our schedule so Liam can wake up and be awake for our recordings. Liam is fascinated by adding additional cultural diversity to the setting. Liam is very proud of his own culture and has watched videos by the current designers of the game system talking about how the setting is evolving over the years, and is willing to take on the challenge to add his own authorial voice as a player. And our other 2 players are WebDM Jim, one of the hosts of WebDM, and his partner, the CEO of WebDM, Emma. I played with Emma in a number of actual plays, and they're both a riot. Jim is most interested in engaging with a variety of optional rules. He loves looking at the books. He goes, "There's an optional rule here, whether we do it in the AP or not. I want to play a game where we, through the eye into the hand, all these little optional targeting systems." And he described it as it's crunchy like grape nuts, and I like grape nuts. So it's good to see the players engaging with the content. As far as their show concept, they're looking at this as a group of new players exploring the system for the first time. They want to explore the various cultures that are found within the campaign setting. Likewise, they really want to embrace the rules system and do their best. And it's interesting, you can watch the evolution where you might see a YouTube comment that mentions how, maybe the goblin would be at a penalty because his dagger is shorter than the spear and the weapons have different ranges. And you notice in the next episode, even before seeing the comments, the players have picked up on this and they're trying to strategize which weapons they use in combat as they become more familiar with the rules. Mm-hmm. And it's great to see that, which is also useful to help give people confidence to play the system themselves. Mm-hmm. We also sandwich the actual play with a pre-show and after-show where I talk about the setting, the system, and give people a chance to feel more comfortable with the live show because it's our time together to watch a game of the Dark Eye as an audience.
Yeah, I really like the pre-show and the post-show that you're doing. I think that's super cool. I don't think I've seen many shows really do that. And so it's great to have the audience, like you say, come in and be able to talk to you about it. And I think like in the Torg, Rudy sat in there with you, which is fantastic.
Well, any opportunity I have to talk with a blessing and a treat. I love Rudy. I've been friends with him for half a decade now or longer. It's great. That's the other thing too. Even though this is the first time many of these players are playing together, the Dark Eye game it's a group of friends. They're all friends. They've never played the Dark Eye together, and they've never streamed together on a show. But they're all good friends, which is one reason it's a secret to success with that particular group. We'll talk about it later, but it's the opposite with the Torg group, where a lot of them haven't met each other yet.
Okay. Cool.
They're enemies.
They're not different cosms.
Yeah.
Different, literally.
Nice.
Well, I'm glad you're making that show. It sounds pretty cool, and I hope everybody gets a chance to check it out. We're going to put the links to all of that up for everybody to get after the show, right, Robert?
Definitely. And when is that show, Grant?
That show airs live on Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. That's when we have the actual show. The pre-show starts at 5:30. I know it lines up with some Ulysses International programming, so there's a good chance you can segue from one show to the other and keep getting that great Ulysses goodness. But it also, I think the second episode went live this morning on YouTube. I know it showed up on my phone. So roughly 48 hours after the initial broadcast, you'll if you want to catch it, you can always check the video archive on Twitch, but you can also check it on YouTube at WebDM Plays.
Great. Thanks. Yeah, we'll definitely get all this information out there for folks. Let's move on to Aventuria. So we are looking to kickstart the Extraordinary Heroes expansions for Aventuria in the coming months. We're working on getting a bunch of preview copies to folks so they can review them, so we can come out of that gate swinging for our next Kickstarter for Aventuria. You can still get the tabletop simulator demo of the Treasure Hunter on the Ulysses-US site, and so if you can either print and play those, or you can play it on Tabletop Simulator. And just the other day, I did an unboxing of the Tears of Fire expansion and the Inn of the Black Boar. There's some of the expansions that we've had out for a while, but it's the first time I've really been able to take a look at them, and there's more heroes, more cards, more adventures. So I'm excited to play the Tears of Fire, which has you basically fight a Hydra with multi heads, and it looks really cool.
One of our other games, of course, is Myth: Dawn of Heroes, and we're making good progress there as well. In fact, the World book is now available on PDF, and the physical copies are out to the backers. So you should have already received that. The cards that were included with the World of Myth crowdfunding are available as print and play or print on demand through Drive-Thru RPG. So check that out if you haven't already. Additionally, Robert did a great flip through on the book on his Ulisses grab bag show. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so that was the same show that I did the unboxing of the Aventuria, but so I got my copy, this beautiful leather-bound book with the nice gold edges, and this book is just amazing. And so I did a flip through of it, showed people what what you're gonna find in it, and if you're into myth or either Myth Dawn of Heroes or Tales of Legend, or you just like great art and cool stories, this is definitely a book to pick up.
Now, the role-playing side of our Myth universe is going to be the upcoming release Myth Tales of Legend, being put together by Ross Watson. I know that John Matthew has wrapped up his Myth Tales of Legend, The Lost Barrow Quick Start adventure, and you can find that on YouTube. So that sort of tells you everything there is to say about Myth at the moment.
Yeah. So let's move on to another one of Grant's projects, Toward Eternity. So a lot of folks have been talking about, Aurorsh is the next Cosm we were going to do. And we initially were talking about starting the crowdfunding in October, but we've decided to push that back to early next year for a few reasons. One, we really want to do Aurorsh justice, and we want to make sure that that we give everybody, everything everybody wants, maybe not everybody, everything, but lots of things that folks want for Aurorsh, and we want to make sure we do it right, and couple that with just having more time to do this build up, and also there's been delays across the board for COVID things, and so we want to make sure that we're able to kind of deliver things that we have that we owe for previous crowdfundings and for these coming up, and so we want to just make sure we have all of our ducks in the row for that for next year.
Aurorsh is really a unique Cosm. I want to make sure I just chime in that it has a lot of aspects that we want to make sure that we don't just gloss over. It's one of the more unique Cosms. We want to give it the attention it needs, and make no mistake that especially with our printing partners that are all over Europe, they are dealing with delays that are unexpected and impossible for us to anticipate right now. But we want to be sure we start rolling out materials to people as soon as we can get them from the printers and through shipping. And easing up on the time frame on our Aurorsh is just a good idea from a physical standpoint. So bear with us, but Aurorsh is going to be great, and we'll crowdfund that just after the first of the year.
Yeah, and so in the chat, someone, Jihi, just asked, what about Torg Retreat? And that was the next thing that I was going to talk about. So Torg Retreat is going to be a series of events, streams, and online events that we're going to be doing over the next couple of weeks. We're still nailing down some of the details of that, so I don't really have a whole lot to announce right now, but we are going to be doing a Torg Retreat. You can expect something, streams at the end of the month. It's looking like we're going to do stuff on Saturday on the 31st, but we just need to find a producer. Hint, hint, Grant, maybe? No. I don't want to put you on the spot. But no. So we were talking about doing it on Friday, or I was thinking about doing it on Friday, but I've got kids. Sorry, we were originally talking about doing it on Saturday, but I've got kids, can't do it on Saturday. So I was thinking Friday, but everybody had already said to do it on Saturday, and so that's kind of where we're at. So we're going to be looking for another producer to kind of work on that. So we'll see where we end up.
I know someone.
Yeah.
Great.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. So, but some of the other Torg Retreat things that we kind of had in mind were sort of a virtual scavenger hunt. We're talking about doing some quick sort of encounters, like quick role-play encounters as streams, some panels about horror, and panels about Aurorsh. So we've got a bunch of good content that we're looking to do for Torg Retreat.
Awesome. Now we have a lot of good streaming content up for the Torg Eternity game as well. The Four Horsemen is still every Tuesday at 5:30 Pacific on Twitch, followed by the upload to YouTube. This game game mastered by Jam, John Matthew DeFoge, and features Ross Watson, a Torg Eternity designer, as a player. Recently, JM introduced a new player to Torg. They had a one-on-one session, and how did that go?
So that went really well, and last time they played, they introduced that player into the larger story. So now they were the Four Horsemen. Now they're I think they're just the Horsemen now, since they're no longer four.
They're
now five.
the N Horsemen.
The N
right?
Horsemen.
We don't know how many there are.
And How to Be a Great GM again did some more great intro videos for us about Torg and an actual play which was called the Rybinsk Gambit, and you can find that on YouTube on How to Be a Great GM's channel. I really liked how he imported all of our assets for the cards into Tabletop Simulator, and so the way he did his cards are is all on Tabletop Simulator, so it looks real nice. You can see all the cards, and then they scroll around and can zoom in on them and stuff like that. So he had a pretty cool setup. Grant is producing the Reality Raiders 3 show. Tell us about that show, Grant, and why is it called Reality Raiders 3?
This is the sequel to Reality Raiders 1 and 2, a pair of fictional movies that took place in Rudy Basso's head prior to doing this actual play. So when I talked with Rudy about the show, and Rudy felt the same feelings I did looking at the material. He goes, "This reminds me of every movie I ever loved growing up." And he wanted to go with a more retro, lo-fi feel and set Torg in the 1980s. To the point where we're looking at making some mechanical changes to Earth's tech level on the Axiom and things like that, dropping lots of references to Ronald Reagan, American Gladiators, Power Gloves, DeLoreans, and things like that. To the point where they asked me if I could animate an intro video with every retro effect that I had stuck in my brain. Thank you. It's one of those things where I'm like, an opportunity to use all these skills, because I started as a retro analog video graphics person, older than I look, but it's a blessing. But the idea here is I wanted a game master who was exciting, engaging, and enthusiastic. So I talked with Rudy about it. And Rudy is one of those people that has an utmost passion for every game system that he plays, and he loves to play many of them. And with Torg, it's one he had known about, but he hadn't run before. So he was doing deep dives into the rules, running various play tests before he went on the stream. Worked with me, and he pitched the show to me, and he was wearing a pair of sunglasses. Took them off, and he had another pair of sunglasses underneath. And he said, "And I want you to know these are cyber sunglasses." And I was like, "All right." And for that particular group, I was looking for players that, one, I trusted, two, I felt would be a really good match playing together, and three, would really embrace both the system and the aesthetic we were going for. So I recruited Jonathan Pruitt. Pruitt is the other co-host of WebDM, who is the pun master. He is a highly decorated martial artist and a fierce competitor in athletics or any game of chance if you play with him. He and I have done axe throwing. We've done baseball throwing. He and I have done a couple Ren fairs together where his competitive nature kicks in. So he's like, "I want to play an American Gladiator." I was like, "You got it." And he's wearing the stars and stripes, sunglasses, tank top, bandana. Everyone's in costume in that show, by the way. So they all come out in costume. I'm playing with Little Red Dot. Dot is a award-nominated multiple-time actual play performer. She's up for a couple Audioverse nominations for her work in the podcast world, but she is ubiquitous across streams, having been a WotC partner, mainstay on the show, Roll For It, as well as a featured stage performer at Gen Con, and part of their production team. She's very enthusiastic, and she approaches it from not just a classically trained actor perspective, but also she has published a number of game products for a variety of systems. And she views herself as an early adopter of systems when she gets the chance to play. She's one of those people that wants to be the first to play. We're also playing with my friend Shana Nakasone, who is an illustrator in the game industry. And also, if you go way back, my first actual plays I ever produced, Shauna was a cast member. And she has performed with me in shows for many years. She's playing a no-holds-barred baseball player coming right out of cyber Japan and making sure that she wields that baseball bat with reckless abandon, and they're already looking at how they can set up wombo combos between her and Pruitt's character. And a newcomer to WebDM, Amber, Rocket Orca on Twitter, is a professional UX designer, instructional designer, and podcast host. The host of the show Geekspective, where she offers the geek perspective on things. And she's playing the spell-slinging cowboy from Ale. And really interesting to see Amber's approach to the game. She purchased her rodeo hat, and they're just tearing it up. And you can catch their next episode, their second episode today on Twitch TV/WebDM. Likewise, if you can't catch it today, you can always catch it in the video archive or on YouTube at WebDM Plays, and they're going live with their second episode. And they're already making notes. It'll be 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Always, again, pre-show at 5:30, and you can stick around for the post-show. And we will raid Ulysses post-show, even if it's a rerun.
Yeah, this last week was a rerun. This week will be good to go into our Fading Suns game. Yeah, today's Thursday, so that is Fading Suns. So speaking of Fading Suns, a bunch of the backers for Fading Suns should have just gotten the Game Masters book last week or 2 weeks ago. We put out the character book, and in the last Heretical Musings stream with Bill Bridgers and Andrew Greenberg, they talked about the character book, and we kind of flipped through the first few chapters, and they went in and just gave specifics, gave details about all the different races and some of the classes that you could take up in that game. So if you like really seeing like what's in the designer's mind, definitely come listen and watch Heretical Musings, which is the first and third Tuesdays of the month at 2 p.m. Pacific, and the next show is on Tuesday the 20th.
Cool.
JM brought back the crew of the Oh Boy. So the original crew,
Oh Boy,
the original Fading Suns game that he had, they were the crew of the Oh Boy, and they are back streaming on Thursdays again at 5:30 Pacific. So that will be right after, right before Grant show. Right after, sorry.
Right.
Time zones.
After. Yep.
Time zones.
They're a pain.
So thanks Grant for coming on the show. It's really interesting to sort of see a lot of this, kind of what happens in the background to kind of make these shows possible.
And if you're interested in doing a Fading Sun show, I also know a producer that would be interested in making that happen.
Yeah. We've been talking about that. We're definitely interested in that. We are, we're really ramping up. I've got another meeting later on with another producer to get some more shows. So we're gonna have a ton of shows, including as Grant just mentioned, we were talking about. Wasn't Jim talking about running it or at least playing in it?
We're talking. It's one of those things. As soon as I mentioned it, he's like, the legendary sci-fi space opera game, and like his head literally turned around Exorcist style, and it doesn't happen very often with Jim. But yeah, I'd love to get together a good cast, and there's a lot we can do. The artwork is very evocative as always with these products, but also it's very close to a lot of our roots in gaming, and so we're like, let's get on this.
Definitely. Yeah, so that you guys can look forward to that as well. So more great games from WebDM Plays and Grant Ellis. So with that, thanks for watching the Ulysses World Show. If you'd like to chat more with Ulysses, folks or other fans, please check out our Discord community. If you like the show, please follow and subscribe to our channels on Twitch and YouTube, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss out on anything. And Grant, you also started a Patreon for your shows to sort of help produce them. And so if you like Grant's shows, we'll put the link in the show notes to support him there as well.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. So Grant, where else can we find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at WisePapaGrant. I'm across a lot of different networks on Twitch, but you can follow me on my personal channel at Grant R. Ellis. If I often do live game design sessions where I take projects that I'm working on and show the audience my process, because I want them to see that I'm not just throwing words and hope they stick to the wall, though sometimes that is part of the process. As well as all the shows on twitch.tv/webdm. I am their contracted producer of choice.
Nice. So for Ulisses Spila, I'm Robert Adducci, and this is Timothy Brown. Thanks for watching.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
So come
Have a
back
good day.
in 2 weeks on Thursday, October 29th at 9 a.m. Pacific for more Ulisses Worlds of News. Bye-bye.